And we are recording with the one and only Dr. Dale Comstock on Tuesday, November 26th, 2024 at 9:08 a.m. Eastern Time. Dale is legitimately one of the original guests, and so because of that, everyone, you have to go in the description. Please go buy a copy of American Badass. His new book is coming out hopefully before Christmas, and he will be on here multiple times to discuss it. And all you fuckers better go buy that too, because Dale gives you free interviews, and you gotta pay. Somebody's gotta pay the piper. And so, guys, please go in the description. Please go follow Dale on Instagram. Please go grab American Badass. That was Dale was first on here, episode 50, over 4 years ago. Um, but yeah, so I mean, one thing a lot of people are talking about is, and for everyone that for whatever reason you might not know Dale. Dale is the youngest ever member in Delta Force. Dale is in Ground Branch. Dale is a PhD, black belt, trains dogs, nuclear facility, personal VIP, billionaire, security, movie star, author, actor, fucking everything. So this is who Dale is. This is whenever I mention Dale, it's everyone knows Dale. But there's a lot of talk about not only finally buttoning up the southern border, but I don't know if it's through official channels or if it's just rumors and whatever, um, about actually sending special forces, I think more accurately, tier one special forces to go fuck up the cartels over the southern border. And a lot of people are like, that's awesome. And then you have a lot more people that are like, but what if Mexico doesn't give us permission? That's the entire point of tier one is to not ask permission, is to just go do it. So instead of me meandering and rambling and looking at people on Twitter, I was just somebody messaged me like, can you ask Dale? And I was like, God damn right I can. So Dale, what I mean, is it all horseshit? Is it feasible? Is it going to be a total blowback? Is it going to be a cakewalk? What is it?
All right. So my take on it is this. So if Trump is serious about exporting or deporting,
I
deporting
like
uh,
export.
all these criminals that come across him, and that's exactly what they are, right? And so I pull no punches on that. You know what happened to my wife? My wife has literally been deemed a criminal because she was what they call an unlawful overstay, which was outside of our control. We didn't, anyways, you know the past. And
Mhm.
so if you're going to call my wife, who's married to me, was married in the United States, been back and forth, and because she got cancer, got hit by a police car, overstayed her visa. Um, if you're going to call her an unlawful overstay, basically a criminal, then I'm going to call everybody that entered our country illegally criminals. And that's what they are, criminals, and they need to be treated just as badly as my wife and I have been treated by the government, by the U.S. government, which has been pretty bad. As you know, I was on the Alex Jones show to talk about it. And so that's my opinion. And I have no sympathy, zero.
Hell no.
And so I think what's going to happen is I think Donald Trump, what I would do if I was the president, so right now you've got, various, I don't even want to call them leaders. Let's just call them managers of different cities and states, right? Going, okay, we're not going to comply. We're not going to let our law enforcement help or assist the federal government round up these criminals and remove them from our country, right? So that's okay. I wouldn't expect them to use local law enforcement anyways. They got their own jobs to do. But I would, if I was Trump, I'd waive. I don't even know if you need to waive posse comitatus for this, but what I would do is one, besides using the National Guard, two, I would also deputize PMC companies, paramilitary companies, right? So, um, you and I start a security company, we get deputized by the U.S. government. Maybe they assign us a U.S. Marshal just to give us guidance and framework to operate in. And we go out and actually do the job. We go out and we develop the intel network, just like overseas, right? We develop an intel network. We find out who's here illegally. We run it down. We round them up. We detain them, and then we help facilitate movement out of this country, right? So the government has spent billions of dollars, literally billions of dollars, paying busing companies to literally transport illegal criminals into the interior United States. Okay. Well, first of all, I won't give those guys any contracts. In fact, we should be slashing their bus tires, right? But what I would do is turn around and hire. Let's just let's hire Republican bus companies, right? Conservative bus companies. Let's you and I start a bus company, and then we also facilitate moving these people out, right? We flip the script, is what I'm saying. So what do? We create jobs. We're getting rid of we're getting rid of the criminals. That's what they are, getting them out of our country, and I think a PMC company could do that. And I think also, of course, the National Guard can do that. And if he wanted to, he could probably waive posse comitatus to do that because what we have is actually, in a sense, we have been, it is an insurgency of a kind, right? So we've been infiltrated by, estimates are anywhere from 10 to 20 million people have come to this border illegally. Many of them military age males from China, from Iran. We know terrorists have come across the border, quite a few. And that's not speculation. That's been confirmed, although it's not publicly announced. As I pointed out, with my scenario, the FBI informed me that I had Al Qaeda looking for me in Panama City Beach, Florida. They're looking to find me, so we know they're in our country. I already know that. I didn't even need that from the FBI. There's enough evidence and intel out there to support all that. They're finding weapons, shoulder-fired weapons, on the border, and they've been actually finding those for the last 10, 12 years. You know why? Because when I was doing border. When I was actually working for various oil companies and providing consulting services, I would go down to the border, like for example, El Paso, Laredo, Texas, and I was actually privy to the intelligence where they were literally recovering cache sites with RPGs and prayer rugs and things like that, right? So this has not just happened recently. This has been ongoing for a while, but now to a whole nother level. So could you send tier one assets, into Mexico? I would argue like this. I'd say, you know what, man, this is an act of war. The Mexican government has allowed this. They have done nothing to stop it. And so we're going to take matters in our own hand. You let all these people come across the border intentionally. Okay, you didn't try to stop them. You just usher them across the border. And so including the cartels that have been they've been setting up shop in our country, along with many other these let's just call them what they are, man. They're narco terrorists, right? You got these
Mhm.
narco terrorist elements that have set up shop now in our country, and I think that I'm okay with Trump holding them accountable. Going, you know what? We're going to come into your country and we're going to find these people that have actually they're bringing drugs in our country, that are trafficking humans and children, and we're going to take them out. And
Yeah.
if you want to start a fight, Mexico, go right ahead. You'll lose, and guess what? Mexico will become the new Mexico, right?
Mhm.
We'll just add you into the 50. We'll make you the 51
Absolutely.
state. And so,
Absolutely.
if you want to play games, let's play games. And so, could they do it? Absolutely, man. What would it look like? Well, imagine, Delta Force operators, man, going in with all their assets, cover a night and doing what they do. Man, let me tell you something. They're going to hand the cartel their ass, okay, all day long. It's not just Delta, man. I mean, when you start assembling all your tier one assets, you start, SEAL Team Six, you got your ground branch agency guys, you've got other, you have other, U.S. assets in the Intel arena that we could obviously leverage. Hell, we might even send some Ranger battalions on there, right, to go see shit. Yeah, you could call that an act of war, but you know what? We're in war. This is a
Hmm.
war. This has been a war for a long time. Just because it hasn't gone kinetic yet per se, it's nonetheless it's a war. We're literally in, fifth generation warfare. It's completely different. It's not, we've come a long way from first generation warfare where we were fixing bayonets on muskets and stabbing each other. We've finally got to the point today where it's all information operations, psychological warfare, propaganda, and that's really the weapon of choice now. Look how much damage has been done just through media, the internet. Just propaganda, information warfare, disinformation, malinformation, misinformation. It's like you don't know who to believe, who to trust anymore. You see all kinds of BS on the news, and is it BS or is it real? And it's crazy, man, where we've come today. And but I think I think it can be done. We'll probably piss a lot of people off, step on our toes. Of course, we'll have a lot of stupid left-wing Americans pissing and moaning about, oh, it's so unfair. I tell you what's unfair when American veterans like myself are discriminated against, my wife is discriminated against, and you're allowing and you're paying illegal criminals to come across the border and you're harboring them. You're giving them my tax money. I got a real issue with that. So on that note, I think we can definitely manage that piece. And guess what? We're going to create a lot of business for Americans, getting rid of people, right? It's going to be a great institute. And then moreover, going across the border, I can see, I can see the U.S. government maybe even going so far as going, you know what? Okay, we're not going to use our military assets, but what we are going to do is we're going to basically subcontract to paramilitary companies to go do this work for us and then let them go do it as contractors, the kind of stuff I was doing.
Hmm.
I'd be happy to work for the U.S. government as an independent contractor and go down range and smoke check a whole bunch of Sinaloa cartel members, fucking terrorists. I have no problem with that. And and now there's plenty of guys like me that would be happy to go do that. And risking our lives, well, if the payoff's worth it, we'd all go do it. And I don't need a big payday. I just love killing guys like that anyways. They deserve it.
Fuck
How
yeah.
many children have they killed? How many Americans have they killed, with their drugs and their bullshit, I would have zero mercy on them, zero mercy. The shit I would do them is unspeakable, and I have no problem saying that out loud. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, it can be done. There might be some legal ramifications, but at the end of the day, who's going to stop us, right?
Hmm.
Trump won everything. We won the Senate, the House, the popular vote. We literally, I say we as Republicans, we won everything. We're in
Yeah.
charge, right? And who's gonna get? What are you gonna do, right? The rest of the world ain't gonna do nothing because they're all on their heels anyways. The Europeans are shitting in their pants right now. The Germans are going, we're gonna start preparing for World War III with what? Your parade army? You guys haven't
Yeah.
put any money in your army, right? I mean, the whole rest of the world has been neutered, man. They've been living off of our backs, and that gravy train is going to stop. And so we are now going to rise back up. I hope, and I think Trump will do it. That we're going to rise back up, and we're going to make a huge statement, and we are going to make America great again, and we are going to bring some peace and prosperity to the world. And to hell with it, all the liberals and the left retards that have a problem with that. At the end of the day, it's the right thing to do, and I support that man with whatever he decides to do. We got
Yeah.
to invade Mexico and Canada. Let's do this.
Fucking
I
go
don't
for it.
care.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's also like, it's also, yeah, not only that he has the mandate of the people, but it's also like, the vet, like yourself and the guys you're talking about, these people that have gone downrange for wars that make less sense than this. What about something that there's an actual, tangible, logical line of progression where you go southern border, facilitating the input of military age males to the United States, and aside from milking the system, aside from also being used as cattle to subvert the electoral process, aside from rape and murder, they're also human traffickers.
Yeah,
You can't get much more of like a clear cut, that's a bad guy with no gray area. They're trafficking kids. I don't
yeah.
give a fuck. I don't care. Kill them.
They can't account for over 300,000, 360,000 children that come across the border. They can't account for them. They don't know where they are.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Somebody needs to answer for that. Somebody needs to be held accountable for that. And personally, I think when Trump comes in office, I hope this time he doesn't try to play nice and acquiesce to the left. The hell with the left. They brought us to where we are today, and the hell with them. I hope he goes after every swinging dick that was responsible for this and prosecutes them, every one of them. Kamala Harris, every person needs to be held accountable. I would love to see them swinging from the White House lawn, every one of them, man, for what they have done. It's treason. And more, what even more disheartening is what these children, man, what have they done with these children? Right? This is
Yeah.
bullshit. This is total bullshit. And then you look at how many people have been harmed because of this stuff, physically harmed, in my scenario, in my case, we've been emotionally harmed. I'm literally trapped outside my own country. I can't come in because of the bullshit that the last administration or the current administration has invoked. And it's there needs to be accountability because if you don't do something, then history will repeat itself, right? And so I believe that there needs to be an example that needs to be set, and you know, I'm all for like literally corporal punishment of the worst kind, man. I don't care, man. I really don't, because the future needs to understand when you cross and betray your people, the American people, the people you're in charge of governing and protecting and looking out for. When you betray them, you take our money, and you're just so greedy with power, you will walk on American people to do that. There needs to be there needs to be a huge exclamation mark that goes in the history books and said, if you do shit like this is what could happen to you. And there should be, like in every history book, there should be pages and pages of pictures of people swinging by their neck from the White House lawn for betraying our country. That's what should happen. And we can go all the way back to Comey and all those other assholes that started all the bullshit, the Russian collusion shit. Every swinging dick needs to be fucking, and even those without one, they all, Nancy Pelosi, they all need to be held accountable, man. That's how I see it. Um, Obviously, I wouldn't make a good president because, you could call me, you might call
I'd
me a
campaign for
fascist,
you. I'd
but
campaign for you.
people have lost their guts, man, um, and because they're not willing to stand up for themselves and for each other. This is why all this has happened. When I was on the Alex Jones show, I made it a point to say a couple of things, because what I wanted to do, without sounding like a revolutionary, I wanted to call veterans to action. And what I said was, listen, man, there's millions of veterans out there. We are a formidable force to reckon with. If we decide we're not taking no more shit and we pick up our weapons, even the US military can't stop us, just can't stop us, right? And I made a point, about something Biden said about, your AR-15 can't stop an F-15. Well, I got bad news for Joe Biden and anybody that believes that bullshit. I don't have to stop an F-15 with my AR-15. Okay, I don't even have to stop the pilot. You know what I have to do?
You'll
I
find
got
his
to go find
family.
his wife, and kids and shoot him in the face.
Yeah.
Okay, that's warfare. That's asymmetrical warfare. That's unconventional warfare. That's what you're gonna get. Okay,
Yeah.
that's how wars are fought, really fought. Okay, it's not like the movies. I mean, we can look at it right now, Afghanistan, right? I've lost a lot of my soldiers over there who've literally called me, been calling me like on FaceTime Messenger or Facebook Messenger, going, "Hey man, I got Taliban outside looking for me and my family right now. They want to kill us." This is what they do. This is what this is how warfare really is. It's not like, it's not like in the movies. And so I don't need an AR-15 to stop your F-15, because the Mujahideen, they needed AK-47s and flip-flops to destroy the Russian army. In fact, I would argue that Taliban kicked our ass too, right?
Dude, yeah, yeah. I was gonna say not just the Russians, and
Right?
they're 2-0.
Yeah. So imagine, well, 3-0 because they beat the British Empire too, right?
Yeah.
So
They're actually like
you
40,
know,
It goes back to Alexander the Great. They're
yeah,
actually undefeated.
exactly. In shower shoes and AK-47s, man.
Legit. Skill
And
issue. Yeah.
that's exactly what would happen in the United States. It would be a war that the U.S. government can't win. It just couldn't win it. And so, I caution anybody, that thinks that's possible, that they can win. No, they can't. And really, the other reason I said that out loud was because I wanted American people to feel empowered, to know that you're not a sacrificial lamb. You have power. You actually have the ability to push back and fight back. Don't let them lie to you and tell them your AR-15 can't stop an F-15, because it doesn't have to. And then the other thing I said was, when you look at the male population, particularly, not every man was a soldier. Not every man wants to be a soldier. Not every man can be a soldier. I'm okay with that. But you know what every man needs to be? A warrior. Every man needs to be a warrior. You should be a warrior. Your job's to do what? Protect and provide. Okay. And if you're that guy sitting there go, well, I'm just going to vote my way, and be the silent majority, you're telling me you're a coward is what you are. That's
Hmm.
generally that's how it didn't work out well for us in the election before, right? The squeaky wheel always gets the grease. And so my point was, men need to start being men. All right, start standing up for their wives and their children and their daughters. Stop buying into this bullshit DEI, LBGQTRS2UV, WXYZ alphabet bullshit. All right. And let's just sort this out right now. There's men and there's women. All right. Period. And let's keep them separate. Let's not not let's not hurt our daughters by letting them compete against biological males who want to put on fucking lipstick. It's time to put our fucking foot down and go, enough's enough. The bullshit's over, right? And too many people have gone along with the program silently, nodding their head, allowing themselves to be guilted into submission and not speaking out because they're afraid of what will happen to them. They'll lose their job, and then the social media police will show up at the door and want to arrest them for hurting somebody else's fucking feelings. Man, the game is over. And I think we've made the majority of Americans have made that statement that we're done with the bullshit, right? And so this is why I say, let's not even acquiesce to the left. Who cares about their feelings? Let them piss and moan about everything you want. Trump, please do everything that needs to be done, irrespective of their feelings. Fuck their
Hmm.
feelings. They didn't care about my feelings. They don't care about our feelings. They don't care nothing about what you and I think as conservatives. They would remember when they wanted to lock us up for not getting the vaccine and wearing a fucking mask. You know, that's the same people that are pissing and moaning now because they lost the election, and somehow they still think it was a stolen election. It wasn't a landslide. The hell it wasn't, man. So I went off on a
No,
tangent like I
it's,
right,
no, no, no,
but
no. That's good. No, that's good. And that's how and I have to remind myself this too. Is don't forget they stole an election. Number one, that alone, treason. Number two, we know that they worked through EcoHealth Alliance and Wuhan Lab. Whether or not it was released intentionally, let's just be conservative and say it wasn't released intentionally. Fine. The vaccine mandate, they know it was harmful. They hid that up through VAERS and cover-ups. That the vaccine manufacturers have there are not or don't have legal liability. They push it on you. Every company over 100 employees, you have to get it. You have 1 in 400,000 year spike in miscarriages, stillbirths, and myocarditis, not to mention Guillain-Barré syndrome and other forms of blood clots. You've destroyed people's lives, and they're not even allowed to talk about it. You've had backdoor portals through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, all these things to censor. And so not only did you injure people, you also silenced them. You said that they're not allowed to talk. And then if somebody like, hey, it fucked me, fucked my business, I'm not on YouTube. Do you know how much
yeah,
harder it is to build a podcast on Rumble, though large, is about 1/1000th the size of YouTube. They did all of that. They've siphoned away another $250 billion of your money to Ukraine. They shot the president in the face and they were all saying, don't miss next time. They hate you. It's not just, oh, and then, yeah, no southern border, bringing illegals into swing states.
yeah,
And then also mutilating your kids. And if you resist transition surgery, CPS can come take you away because your parents aren't fit. They have they have truly raped everything that is near and dear. There is no like agree to disagree. They want you Hurricane Helene. What
oh
did we
yeah,
see? What about those texts about the FEMA thing? Don't go near the if they have a mag. They want you dead. It's not 4 years ago. I would have been like, "Hey, you're being a little hyperbolic." It is so clear that they don't just want to win; they want you dead. That at this point, if you don't push back, you are either retarded or you're a pussy. There's no good explanation. It's
uh,
you're retarded or a pussy. There's
yeah.
nothing else
No,
to do. Yeah.
you're on all those points, man. You're spot on. And you know, I, when COVID hit, I mean, we took a pretty bad beating, my wife and I, in our company here. So, I'm trying to limit what I say about where I'm at any one
Yeah.
time because the bad guys are looking for me. But as you know, I live in 3 different countries, and but anyways, we took a beating during COVID. We lost 55 out of 65 full-time employees. We had to let them go. We couldn't afford it no more. I lost probably roughly around 650, $700,000 worth of canines. On top of that, so we took a boot in the ass unnecessarily. And then remember the story where I literally got detained against my will, and I was locked up for 5 fucking days because
Yeah.
they didn't like my COVID results from the US. And it was a money scam, is what it was. But then when I told my story on Facebook of what happened to me, I got banned off of Facebook for telling the story, right? So to your point, man, we're literally fighting this machine of left-wing lunatics that have bought into these lies, and it is psychological warfare. The term, what is it? As what is it called? Mass hypnosis psychosis, right? So, everybody's, they see the shiny thing and they all dial in on it and then they can't look away anymore. And even when you present real information, real truth that would discredit their belief system, they believe it anyway. It's called information escalation bias, right? So it's a form of brainwashing. Hitler knew it, Goebbels knew it, and they actually implemented. That's how they were able to convince all the Germans after 30 to 60 days that killing the Jews was a good idea. And that's kind of what happened again, in this country. These politicians, some of them are pretty smart about the human condition, and some of them are just bad people. I can think of several politicians on the left, particularly. It's like these are some really evil, nasty people, man. I don't remember their names, man. One of them was was named Rasky. The guy that looks like the Penguin, right, from Batman, a freaking a little
Oh,
fat dude.
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Nadler?
Yeah, Nadler, right? Guys like that, man, they're just outright evil, nasty human beings, man. I don't even want to call him a human being, man. I mean, I would shit on that guy before I ever fucking try to save his life. They're just bad, bad people. But they're really good at manipulating the naive and the gullible, right? And they know the hot button issues of press like racism, right? Things like that, racism, misogynism, they know the hot button issues to get particularly their constituents riled up and basically put the right on their heels because we don't want to be accused of racism and misogynism, and we don't want to be the bad guy. So a lot of the people on the right just kind of start shutting up because they want to be accused of something that they're not. And rather than just standing their ground, when people call me a racist, I'm like, well, I'll be a racist then. I'm a racist. Yeah, I'm a racist. So now what? Now
Yeah.
what? Now what are you gonna do about it, right? Which I'm not, right? So,
Yeah.
and it doesn't, it's not enough to say, even when I tell people, you calling me a racist, why? Because what, I'm a white guy? Well, how does that explain me being married to an Indonesian Muslim? I've got Muslim children, I've got Asian children, I've got Hispanic children, I've got black children. Fucking, yeah, how do you account for that? Oh, well, because, then they try to argue that, I did it just because it's like, I'm trying to, it's some I got some kind of crazy conspiracy to like dilute their races or some shit. Like, what the fuck? I would sacrifice my happiness to marry into some other race that I really don't want to be a part, but to kind of somehow destroy
Oh,
that. That makes no fuck. But that's the left wing's thinking, man. And I've actually been accused of that out loud. It's like you people are just literally sick puppies, man. And anyways, here we are, right? The good news is Trump won. Um, the bad news is it's not going to be an easy inauguration. I already know from pretty good sources, very reliable sources, that they're efforting. The left is efforting right now to do everything they can to keep him from sitting in that seat. They're gonna throw all kinds of curveballs in there. They're gonna cause all kinds of chaos. They're not just gonna let this happen. I kind of knew they had to let the election happen because it was too big to rig, and it would look really bad if somehow Trump lost that again, right? That would be problematic for them because I got a feeling guys like you and me would probably grab our guns and go to the street and go, no, not doing it twice to us. No, you're not robbing me of my vote. But they knew they couldn't do it the second time. But I think they already had a plan
hmm.
afterwards. They're going to stir some shit. And that's why I said, I said it out loud on Alex Jones show. I'm not sick in the head or anything, but I make a living trying to, if you will, project or predict what are the terrorists going to do next? What are the bad guys going to do next? Whether it's crime or terrorism, etc. And this is how I make my living. If I know what I think the bad guys are going to do next, it's easier for me to mitigate that potential threat. And here's what I think. I think they're going to take a shot at his son and his wife, if not both of them. When I say a shot, they're going to try to take him out. Uh, and even if they're not successful, here's what I can see happening. Okay, they do it, they make an attempt on their lives, they miss. Joe Biden goes, you know what? Hey, we're going to invoke civil law, martial. I mean, we have a civil unrest, martial law. We need to keep everybody hunker down until we can do a thorough investigation, find those that were responsible, bring them to justice, and we're going to put the cops to the streets, the soldiers to the street. Everybody stay in your fucking house like you did for COVID, right? I think that's the play. Oh, and they're going to look at Trump, and go, hey, we're not going to be able to pass the torch just yet until we get this shit stable. I'm still in charge, right? And that could be another 6 months, another year, right? And then they'll dredge up all kinds of other shit to
Hmm.
keep them. That's my play. I think that they're going to try. That's what I would do it. And if you're lucky and you do take out one of his family members, then you can look at him and go, you know what, you're mentally not competent to take this job. You have too much drama. And they would probably invoke some other, maybe the 25th Amendment or whatever to go, no, we can't let you take the seat. You're not mentally whole because of your loss, right? Even though it may not be true.
Hmm.
I mean, they're already trying to call Trump, mentally deranged. He's slowing down and he's got all these issues. They're just making shit up as they go, but they're not going to let this go peacefully. But the bad news is, as I said on Alex Jones, you fuck around this time, and you fuck around with our fucking president, the one we voted for, you're going to have real problems, man. There will be no government by the time we get done with it. We'll reset this son of a bitch all over, just like the Constitution calls for. That's why there's a Second Amendment, right? It calls for that. If we feel like our government is not representing the people, it's not doing its job, we as citizens have the right to oust those son of those bitches and start over, right? So, but they know most people are cowards. Most people just don't have the resolve. Most people are afraid to lose their job. People are afraid to be judged, and they won't do it. This is why I go back to what I said earlier. Every man needs to be a warrior. Every man needs to be a warrior. Stop thinking about your job and start thinking about your family. Start thinking about what have you got to do to secure their freedom. What are you going to do? You're just going to sit on the couch and let 3% of the population again go do the heavy lifting for you? That's what happened originally. When America became a country, it was 3% of the American population, the 3%ers that actually went out there and did the heavy lifting on behalf of the other 97 lazy assholes and cowards that didn't want to get involved, right? But they enjoy the fruits of the sacrifices from the sacrifices that those 3%ers made, and it's sad that we're in this place. It shouldn't be this way, but I guess it is what it is. It's the human condition, the human experience, and we just need to raise more warriors, man. And we've let over the centuries, you know, starting with Dr. Spock, Saul Alinsky, and everybody else, the phase one feminism. We've let them literally emasculate men in America. They use words like toxic masculinity. How about we talk about caustic femininity, right? So nobody ever talks about that bullshit, right? It's a two-way street. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. You either are masculine or you're not. But most men are not masculine. Most men are androgynous in America. And I'm not going to say it's all learned behavior. I'm gonna actually go on a limb here and say some of it is some of that androgyny, if you will, that homosexuality is derived from, I think, our food. The xenoestrogens in our food in large amounts, in water and plastics, et cetera, et cetera, I think is having a profound effect on our biology, because it makes no sense that we have this many people in our planet that are this freaking gay, right? And this freaking weak. It just
Yeah.
makes no sense. And I have to attribute that. And there's studies that support this, by the way, that there's stuff in our food that's altering literally our genetic composition of humans, and I think that has a large part to do with what's going on today. But I'm not going to let them use that as an excuse. Well, I'm a pussy because of what I ate. No, you're a pussy because of your mindset, and maybe you should change what you eat just to make yourself bigger, better, badder, stronger. But I know I sound like, and there's people out there listening, oh, that guy's crazy, man. I've had people accuse me of all kinds of shit, people, oh, I hate that guy, well, you can hate me all you want,
Uh-huh.
asshole. Just because I tell the truth, doesn't mean I'm wrong, right? And just because you don't like me doesn't mean you're right either. So, at the end of the day, I know where I stand on things. I've had a pretty good worldview. I'm 61 years old. I've been around the planet, 101 countries plus, lived in them, worked in them, traveled to them. I've seen death. I've seen death in all phases, and I'm very familiar with the human experience, and And I like to think that, I do spend a lot of time studying the human condition, what makes us tick, how do we think, why do we act this way? I do have a foundation in that. And some of it is just mental. A lot of it's mental. Some of it's probably chemical because of the foods and things that we're exposed to. And a lot of it is just, like I said, mental. It's really like psychological, man. It's warfare. It's what other people are doing to each other. They're lying to us. They're manipulating us. They're brainwashing us. And the education system has failed American people. You can go all the way back and thank Rockefeller for that. Remember when he said, I'm gonna, when he took over the school systems, was it in the 20s? He goes, I'm gonna make a nation of worker bees, not
Mhm.
entrepreneurs. And he already knew what he was doing, you know. And this, by the way, is not just a phenomena of the last 4 years. This has been a phenomenon that's been around for probably hundreds of years, or at least 100 years, starting with the reserve banking and all this other bullshit that are not even federal agencies, man. They're, some bunch of civilian dudes with money say, hey, we're going to do this Federal Reserve thingy. We call it Federal Reserve, so it sounds official, but we're going to use this to make money and exploit shit and control people. It's like a matrix we're living in
Yeah.
sometimes. Anyways, yeah, you know, good news is like again, Trump won. And even if they take him out, we still got JD Vance, and all they're going to do, like they already have, they're just going to empower the right even more. All that
Yeah.
lawfare, all the bullshit. They're still calling him a felon and a rapist, and none of that's true. None of that has been convincingly been proven. I'm not even sure if he's really a felon yet, because although he may have been found guilty, he hasn't been sentenced yet, right? So, and now they're throwing everything out of court, which is, no surprise there. Um, but you know what? I don't give a shit if he is a 30-time felon. And I don't care if he grabs some pussy. We all do. We're all dudes. We've all done it at some point, right? So what? You know what? He's a man, and I have no problem with that. And you fuck all these snowflakes who have issues with that. I'd rather have a guy like him that cares about our country, that's willing to forego his own salary as the president, right? To forego his living, man. The guy's a multi-billionaire. He don't have to do this shit, and he don't need more money. I mean, you think he wants more money? No. The guy's already set his for life. His whole family's set for life, He's not doing it for money and for power. He's literally doing it because, like Elon Musk, man, the guy had an awakening. He goes, "This is bullshit, right? This is bullshit." Along with Tulsi Gabbard and RFK, hats off to them people. They really woke up and go, you know what? And it wasn't even they didn't they may have been woke at one time, like the left is all woke, but suddenly they became enlightened like the right. And there's a
Hmm.
difference between enlightenment and wokeness, right? Let the
Hmm.
left be woke, some bullshit, right? It's not even a proper description. What the word they were looking for was enlightenment, and they use woke because woke sounds, I don't know, ebonics, I don't know what the hell, right?
Yeah.
But it's really enlightenment. And so we got some very smart people that were on the left that were enlightened, and they've seen what's going on, and they've joined the Trump team. And quite frankly, I'm very happy. I'm just disappointed Matt Gates bowed out because
Yeah.
um, he succumbed to the pressure, man. And I wouldn't have allowed it, man. I said, fuck you, yeah, whatever. I had a little fling with a girl, whatever, so what? I'm here, and I'm here to freaking teach some people lessons, and particularly those that have fucked the rest of this country, like the DOJ and the FBI. It's time to flip the script on them. And so nobody's perfect. You show me one politician is perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect human being. We all make mistakes. We have done things we regret. But it's what makes us human, right? And at the end of the day, you know, you don't I don't try to judge a man based on his past, because people do change. And like Trump he was a Democrat. Now he's a conservative. Am I going to judge him? Go, well, you're really a closet Democrat. No, the man says he's a Republican today, then I'm going to take his word for it. He's demonstrated it. I'm good to go with that, right? Um, but yeah, good news. Let's just hope that you know, nothing really bad comes out of it. But I think there will be some terrible things. I think there's going to be a war. They're going to intentionally start a war with Russia. I mean, they're already doing stupid shit like, allowing them to shoot missiles into Russia. The things are not going to get better. We're not going to move into utopia, but at least we're in control,
Hmm.
right? At least, the conservatives are in control. And so I think good things will come out of this. Well, the Keystone Pipeline will open back up. You'll see oil prices dropping again, food prices coming back to reason. Um, you know, we'll see a better future. And I think we have a long time ahead of us, with JD Vance, the Supreme Court. I have a feeling that the Conservative Party has won our future for a long time. And it's changed the world too, because living abroad, I've got a lot of friends that are all around the planet. As you know, I do a lot of I do a lot of coaching, online coaching. And so I've literally got clients in every country around the world. And they were all before the election, everybody was, please let God let Trump win, let Trump win. And after he won, they're like, hey God, he won. I'm like, you're not even America. And they're like, no, we know, but
Yeah.
the problem is if America falls, everybody falls, right? We were the last hope. And man, the same people that were bashing Trump when he was in office, these expats that I know, in fact, it pissed me off. I just disassociated with myself, are not coming back going, yeah, you guys were right. We were wrong. Fuck, he is the savior, and now, they embrace this idea that I mean, they're happy because they know this is going to change the world in a good way. The World Economic Forum, they're on their fucking heels, man. Good luck with trying to pass your agenda now. The World Health Organization, your little COVID vaccine passport bullshit. United States ain't buying into that one either. So you're not controlling us. You're not going to force a passport on us. Oh yeah, digital currency. I know Trump's all, he's all gung ho about digital currency, but he's not gonna get rid of the U.S. dollar, the fiat money. He's not going to relegate us to digital currency because he knows it's a ball and chain. And I would assume that if he does go along with it, he would make sure that there's measures in place so people cannot be abused and cannot, have this leverage against them. That's what I'm afraid of with digital currency is once everything's digital, you literally have a digital footprint. They can track everything you do, and it can also stop you from doing things just through your digital banking, right? So, social credits, etc. But I think all that's going to go to the wayside. Um, I hope, I think it will. I have no reason to believe it won't, and I'm actually quite happy that, we're in a better place and I was really excited because before that, I could tell the tension was palpable. When I went down to Austin to be on the show with Alex Jones, man, that guy, by the way, he's intense, man.
Yeah.
That guy's intense even between commercial breaks. I'm like, dude, do you ever like slow down? He's
Yeah.
like, oh,
He's
right, he's
yeah,
go, go,
he's
go, go. you know, but in a good way, I even thanked him. I said, man, thank you for your service to our country because
sure.
you're the guy that's going to get out there, stand on the X, and you're taking a beating, but you're doing it, but you're standing between us and the fucking bad guys. Who are the bad guys? It's the left. And, uh, and I said, thank you for what you're doing, man. It takes a real man, to have the guts to say that. And I remember when he came into the green room, before the show, he goes, hey man, he goes, how do you want to proceed when we start this show? He goes, basically, I have you on for the whole show, hour and a half. He goes, you can run with the whole damn thing if you want it, it's yours. He goes,
Yeah.
how do you want me to start this whole thing? And I just looked at him. I said, Alex, I said, bro, I said, I don't care how we start. I said, it's your show. I said, I came here for two reasons. I said the first reason I'm here for on behalf of my wife because of what was done to her by this administration, the abuse that she's gone through by the hands of the United States government. I want to talk about that. So I'm here on her behalf. And I said, two, on here on behalf for you and me and the American people. I said, I've got some things to say, and I think people should hear it. And that's why I talked about, the AR-15 versus F-15, call to action to veterans, telling men to grab your balls and stop being a coward, but actually be a warrior and think like a warrior, be prepared to protect your family, protect your freedom. This is not going to just pass because, if I give it time, we're literally in a fight for our freedom. And we're right on the cusp of losing that. And I think everybody could sense that and feel that the right and particularly on the right, we were panicking a little bit, it's like, what if they cheat again? And that's why I'm so relieved when Trump won. It's like, thank God, man, that's all right. That's a win. And no matter what they do now, all that will be is a trigger to send us after them like freaking dogs, man. Just maul them for anything to do now. We won that election fair and square, unanimously. It was a landslide, even though they're trying to say it's not a landslide. It was a landslide. So American people should be happy, at least us on the right, fuck the left and let them cry and piss and moan all they want. They're powerless. They got no juice left. They got no credibility left. We just proved that your woke shit doesn't stack up to enlightenment. So you keep being woke, we're going to remain enlightened and keep doing the right thing for children, for American people and really for the rest of the world. Because what we have done in a lot of ways is going to benefit everybody around the planet. And we should be proud of that. I am, and it gives me faith. I was embarrassed for a very long time over here to tell people I was American because I felt so stupid, man. I was like, people are like, what's going on in America? They're clipping the dick off of kids and making them girls and freaking, they don't know what a woman is. I mean, literally, this is what I'm hearing from people abroad. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just holding my head down. It's like, yeah. Aren't you the American badass? I'm like, no, no, I'm just a badass. You know, I don't want to, I was like, I don't even want to acknowledge it anymore. I was so embarrassed. But now my head's up, and I go out and wear my freaking MAGA hat loud and proud. It's like, yes, I'm a goddamn American. And you know what? Americans have proved that we are strong, that we are resilient, and we are not just gonna roll over. We let them take us to the edge. We let them take us to the edge. Hopefully we learn our lesson. We never let that happen again, but we push back and here we are, right? So we saved our country. I think we saved humanity. We may have saved the planet. We may have made the whole world a great place again, not just America. Um, anyways,
No, I
got
really
me all riled up tonight. Rah!
no, it's I really do. I mean, I don't I go back to July 13th. I mean, I really the only thing I can think of is like enough people have it in their hearts that they want to do good and that they want like a just good not a fucking utopia because that never happens, but just a world where you can just the basic human shit. You can work hard, you can have a family and all
Yeah,
that. I don't have any other explanation than we were spared by God. I
yeah.
really it's not that God's just gonna fix everything. That's not it. But rather it's just turning the head. It's it's like saying it's like if you make it to the playoffs or something. It doesn't mean you win the championship. It means you've earned a spot and you live to see
Right.
another day. You still got to fight, but you live to see another day. It's winning funding for a business. It doesn't mean that it's finished. It just means you have an opportunity now. I
Yeah.
really think that I mean I don't know what the I guess the math of religion is, but I mean I would imagine uh enough people are like, this is fucked up. This is human trafficking. They're attacking children, and we were spared. That's the only explanation I have is like we were spared. That
Well,
I don't have anything else. I don't know.
yeah. No, I think the human consciousness, the collective, man, is basically good. And then there's very bad people that want to manipulate other people for three things. We talked about this before. What is it? Power,
Or
pussy,
pussy
and
and
money, right?
yeah.
Right at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, man. Power, money, and pussy. And there are people out there that will do anything for that. Anything they will harm other people, manipulate other people, harm our children. Hell, they will abort our children, right? I mean, when you think of like, Planned Parenthood and the amount of money this freaking criminal institution's making by murdering children. For when, and I hate to say it in this, I've gotten very jaded over the years when it comes to party affiliation. And I've basically come to the point in my life where I look at Democrats, all Democrats, as the enemy within. And when a Democrat goes, well, hey, I'm a Democrat, but I don't believe in abortion. I'm like, fuck you. That's like me saying I'm in the KKK and I don't approve of lynchings. You can't have it both ways. You're either
Yeah.
all in or you're all out, right? You support a camp that believes in killing children right up to the moment of birth and thereafter, even if it's alive on the table, right? And I got a real problem with that. I don't have a problem shooting people in the face that have it coming to them, but man, leave the children alone. They don't leave the babies and children
Pure
alone, man.
pure
Let them grow up
innocence.
and have a life,
Yeah.
right? And you can't, all these lame ass excuses about, oh, I was raped and ran incest and blah blah blah. The numbers just don't bear out.
Yeah,
And
it's
by the
one
way,
percent
there
of
are,
1% of 1% of
yeah,
1%. It's
exactly. And there's provisions in place for that, right? If something like that
yeah.
were to happen, there's exceptions, right? Okay. But generally people use it as birth control. And because they're irresponsible. That's what it comes down to. They don't want to be accountable, they don't want to be responsible. And so, it's easier to kill a child in your womb. And all their arguments are completely wrong. They're not even based on science. For example, um, when it comes to, well, it's just a clump of cells. Well, yeah, so are you. We're all clumps of cells at the end of the day, right? But it's not a clump of cells because when the heart starts beating, in fact, within a few weeks, the heart starts beating. There's actually energy, electricity in the body, bioelectricity. In fact, there's bioelectricity right upon conception when the sperm
Hmm.
join. There's actually, and it involves zinc and other things, but there's actually a flash of light of
Yeah,
energy.
I was about to say, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, so the life has already started, right? And at the end of the day, look, here's this is the best defense, or the best argument against abortion is this. When people go, well, it's just the fetus, okay? I think the Latin term for fetus means unborn or human, anyways, but they use terms like that, right? Zygote, embryo, and fetus, and blah 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 blah. Here at the end of the day, there's a thing called what's it called? It's called the law of precondition. The law of precondition states this, that you have a moral responsibility. Let's just say you and I meet and I've got a baby with my baby, it's 2 months old. And you go, oh, Dale, it's such a cute little guy, man. He looks just as cute as you do. Thank you there. Thank you. Hey, and can I hold him? And I go, sure, you can hold him, right? And then you hold him, and after a little while, you know what? These are my arms, my fucking body. I don't want to hold this little guy anymore. You just drop him on the ground, right? You have a responsibility to return that baby safely to back to in my arms or back to the ground, not just drop him. Just like a pilot, right? You're a pilot in a jet, and you got 100 passengers in the back. You can't just decide as you're flying, you know what, this is my body. I don't want to touch these fucking controls anymore. I don't want to control this airplane. My body, my choice, body autonomy, and I ain't doing it. And you crash the airplane with 100 people in it, right? You have the ethical, the moral, the legal responsibility to deliver those people back to Earth safely. And that's called the principle of precondition. Okay, you don't get to just choose arbitrarily. Well, it's my body, so I'm just going to let you fucking die.
Mm.
And so when you have a baby in your body, it's its own set of DNA. It's actually a second person in your body. Okay. And then you go, well, it's not alive. The fuck, it's not alive. It meets all the criteria of a life. The life is basically, there's the scientific description for life is any organism that has the capacity to eat, to produce energy, to remove waste, to grow, to move, to adjust to its atmosphere or to its surroundings, and also has the potential to reproduce. That defines a life, and that's actually a baby. That's an embryo. That's an egg in a human body. It's been fertilized, right? It meets all those requirements, and so therein is the science again. And so we have people out there, and I can't give them a pass and go, well, they're young, they don't know. No, fuck you. I knew a lot of this shit already when I was a kid because we're all adults, all right, or we're all human beings. And guess what? There's the internet out there. All the information's out there. Do your work, do your research, do your due diligence. And by the way, let your conscience, your morality be your guiding factor. And most people have no morals. And another argument related to that is when they talk about, for example, and I'm not trying to be racist. I know everybody, you fucking racist. No, I'm not racist. I have to remind you guys, my wife is Muslim, Indonesian. I got 3 black children, Hispanic child, fucking Asian children. Okay. No, I'm not fucking racist, but I am the guy that calls it like he sees it. And this is what pisses people off. They don't like that about me. He's like, oh, you fucking, these guys all wound up, whatever. Eat shit is all I can say to that. But,
Hmm.
for example, when and I used to teach psychology of violence. I was a professor for one of the universities, and I had my students, one of the essays they had to do was they had to look at violence, particularly in the minority community. Like, why do for example, 93% of young African American men, that's black men. Okay, I don't even like to use African American because I don't call myself a German American. I'm either
Yeah.
American or fucking German. I'm not both, right? And so let's just say, the reason 90% of black men are killed by 90% or 93% of black men under the age of 23. I said, what's the causation for that, right? And everybody's like, well, socioeconomics, blah, 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 blah. I said, so what you're fucking telling me is, these guys are basically mindless machines or animals, okay, and they can't think for themselves. So we all know that murder is inherently wrong. It's innate, because if it wasn't innate, we'd be slaughtering each other all day long, right? We don't do that. And so to argue that people kill each other people because of socioeconomic conditions is bullshit. Okay, because at the end of the day, what separates us from all the other animals in the animal kingdom is this: our intellect, our decision making faculties, ability to think, and we know the difference between right and wrong and morality. We just need to exercise those, right? So we keep making excuses for people being criminals. We keep making excuses for people that keep failing, like, oh, it's not their fault, it's somebody else's fault. How about we just take responsibility for our failures and our successes, right? It goes both ways. If I fuck up, I admit it. But if I'm successful, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm successful. I won. I deserve that, right? I did well, and people, while you're bragging, blah, blah, blah. You know what? We should be able to take responsibility for our inadequacies, our failures, as well as our successes. We should be able to celebrate that, right? And by taking responsibility for our failures, and accountability for their failures or shortcomings, the things we've done wrong. If we can take accountability for that, actually makes us better. We start growing again, right? We learn, okay, that was a bad thing to do, and I learned a lesson, and now I move forward to become a better human being. Because look, if you're a Christian, we all know, right? Is it Romans 3:12? We're all born with sin. Okay, we're already born sinners. We're already born fucking losers, which is kind of fucked up, right? But none of us are perfect. And but we have the opportunity to uh to grow and to move to a better version of ourselves, to ascend to a higher level of consciousness, to be a best version of ourselves and be a good human being. We'll never be perfect, but we should all aspire to that and stop blaming everybody else for us being a loser, right? Just because you didn't make it isn't somebody else's fault. And even if it is somebody else's fault because you failed, or they made you fail, at the end of the day, bounce back, regroup, show some grit, and rise up and win again, or come back and win again. Stop making excuses. And here we are in a world, in a country where everybody thinks they're entitled to shit. They want free stuff. They don't have to work for it. And then what do? We sit here and give thousands, millions, billions of dollars away to criminals across the border. We accommodate them, but we leave our own people out on the streets. We leave people in the mountains of North Carolina with nothing. Right? We take all their money, which they should be earning because they should be getting because it's their tax money, and we ship it off to fight some goddamn war that we have nothing to do with. I give two fucks about Ukraine and Russia. I don't care if Russia swallows up Ukraine. It ain't our problem. Everybody goes, well, it could be our problem. Hey, there's a lot of things that could be our problem. Right now, our problems are within our borders.
Hmm.
If our country doesn't get itself straightened out, who gives a shit what's going on around us? We need to take care of ourselves first. Take care of our own house before we worry about somebody else's backyard. And so it's just an upside down world. At the end of the day, these politicians, for the most part, are responsible for it. They've manipulated, they have brainwashed people. They use the news media as their intelligence or their propaganda arm. Then they've weaponized the DOJ, FBI. They've become the action arm for them, right? So literally, these guys are formed and set up just like a terrorist organization. They literally have set it up for themselves, and that's what they have done to the American people. In a lot of ways, they've terrorized both sides, because the left is terrorized because they believe all the lies about the right, which is not true. We're not fascists. We're not going to hurt you. We're not out to get you. We couldn't give a shit if you're gay or not. We just don't want you ramming it down our kids' throats. And the right, we were terrorized because we're like, fuck, are they going to cheat again? Are they going to do everything they can to subvert us and subvert our vote and take our freedom from us? So they had us all terrorized, and it was all done at the government level. It's the guys up there that were manipulating everything. It's the Bidens, the Kamala Harrises, it's the Soros, it's the Pelosi's, it's all these criminals, and that's what they are. They're criminals and they're terrorists. That's who did this. And again, I go back to what I said earlier. I hope Trump holds them all accountable in some way, somehow, doesn't give them a pass. Fucking burn them down, man. Burn them down. That's all I can say.
Yeah,
Second
and
rant.
no, 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 no. And I was gonna say in the importance of so it's like what you know. Elon Musk said when it had Trump on his Twitter space, or when Trump or when Elon went on Rogan, and it's kind of the whole, these swing states are often won by single counties where the vote difference is a few thousand here and there. So it's like you don't it's the same thing with like the 3%. It's like you don't need to take over the whole country. You just got to go if the if a county is won by 1,000 votes, just go send 50,000 immigrants there.
That's exactly what happened. Exactly
It
what happened.
yeah, and it's when you look at it makes sense because I never thought about that. And of course it makes sense that Elon Musk, the businessman, is, hey, what a surprise. The guy can scan a complex system and find the point of inflection and where to apply pressure. So it's not just going after the cartels because fuck them. It's like if they are pushing, and as Elon said, if they continue to do this with immigrants, they won't need to cheat because they will have legalized the cheating by simply flooding these swing state counties with illegal
Yeah.
immigrants. So it is existential. It is, and who's facilitating it? Who's making money? The cartels. They don't leave any money on the table. They don't leave any of the money on the table. They're gonna make it. So if they're pushing this and they're working, then they have to fucking go because
Yeah.
everything else flows from the left being able to take power. So if they get it, it's going to be downstream everything else. It's going to be the transition. It's going to be fucking pedophilia. It's going to be inflation. It's going to be censorship. It's going to be giving another $100 zillion to Ukraine. So I look at that and I go, it's a miracle Trump won. We better not waste the miracle. You
No.
better go in and find the fuckers who are facilitating this shit and shoot them in the face. Not name and shame them. Send in Dale and remove them.
I'd be happy to do that. I'm gonna tell you why. I'd be happy to do that because I don't consider these people Americans.
Of
You know,
course not.
they say, "Oh, I'm an American." No, you're not. You're a pseudo-American at best. Okay, you're pseudo-Americans at best. But here's the thing. Here's the other thing we need to be aware of. Here's what I think is going to happen too. Going back to the earlier conversation um, about deporting all these people that come across the border illegal, all these criminals. I'm gonna keep calling what they are, criminals. But here's what's going to happen. A lot of families are going to get deported. No doubt about it, right? And maybe they came over with good intentions. They really wanted to come over to the land of milk and honey, make a better
Sure.
life. So I'm good with that. You know what? Do it the right way, just like my mom did, just like my wife and I've been trying to do. Do it the right way, like the rest of us, right? Don't just bogart your way across the border, ask for money and medical care and transportation, and do what the fuck you want. All right. It doesn't work that way. There's laws. You try that shit anywhere else. You come to Indonesia or the Philippines and you overstay your visa, see how that works for you. It ain't gonna go well. It's gonna go really bad. You're gonna end up in jail, and then you'll be banned for life, and you're gonna be PNG'd probably everywhere. But here's what's gonna happen. My prediction. Once this movement starts to start get rounding people up and get them out, and once this process begins, which by the way, I think will last a good 10, 15 years. It's not going to happen in 1 year. It's going to
No.
be a very long process, right? You know why? Because one, we've got to figure out who's here illegally, right? So there's got to be a process to identify PID the criminals, right? And so they're going to be hiding. They're going to be hiding amongst us, right? With fake driver's license and all kinds of bullshit. They go, I'm good, right? And so how do you get around that? Go, well, I know you have a driver's license, but I don't believe you. So, now you're going, you possibly could be violating people's Fourth Amendment rights because if they are citizens, right? You don't know that. So you
Sure.
got to figure out how do I identify real criminals across this border? Okay, so there's going to be an intel network that has to be established to do that, right? This is going to be bigger than DHS or anybody else I think can manage it. FBI, and in fact, I have no faith in the FBI unless we oust the executive leadership on the top that they're the ones that are corrupt. It's not the field agents, but nonetheless, there's going to have to be a very strong intel organization to help with the vetting process, right, and identifying who these people are that we need to round up. And then you got to go out and you've got to round them up, okay, and then you've got to detain them, okay. You got to detain them somewhere. We're talking 10, 20 million people. Okay, they ain't all going to fit in the county jail. And oh, by the way, the governors and mayors saying, well, we're not going to use my law enforcement, then we'll have to make detention camps, right? And so we just put barbed wire up and keep in the middle of barbed wire in the conditions. But anyways, I think once that process starts, the other thing that's going to happen is, the good people, probably the people that do deserve to come here, even though they did it illegally, are they're going to walk away. They're going to go back home with their children. But the ones that came here that don't want to leave, like those that were actually installed here by Iran, by Russia, by China, and all these other countries that have actually sent their ash and trash and fucking criminals and their military age males here, they're not going to leave. And I think what's going to happen is, I feel like what I think is going to happen, kind of what happens in Indonesia, is you're going to see law enforcement targeted by these groups, right? We've already got the Venezuelan gangs here. We've got the Sinaloa. We've got different groups already in our country, right? And I think what this is going to do is they're going to run counter ops against law enforcement. And you're going to start seeing things like ambushes,
Hmm.
maybe IEDs, suicide bombers. You're going to see all kinds of crazy shit, just like in the rest of the world. It's come to America now. And it was invited and ushered in by this particular sitting president right now, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Mayorkas. These assholes have done this to us, and they need to be held accountable. But I think that's what's going to happen. I had a lawyer about 10 years ago. He was writing a book, something about the future, and he was asking me about, he wanted to know about my background in the unit, and he wanted me to add to the storyline. And one of the things I added was, you know what? In the future, you're going to see law enforcement, maybe even the military and civilians getting ambushed. You're going to see them running counter operations, psychological operations, terror operations to what? Manipulate and control the basically opinions in the population and the actions of law enforcement and the military. It's going to be like the Irish and the British, right? The IRA and the British. I mean, you go around the world and pick, choose your country, right? It's always the same. It's the same thing. We're gonna have a lot of strife in our country that's not going to be easily handled, and we've allowed a cancer to come in. It's just going to continue to metastasize, and the upside is, from a paramilitary perspective, there's going to be a lot of jobs. There's going to be a lot of jobs in law enforcement, military, paramilitary, investigations. There's going to be opportunities. Bus drivers, fucking, I got a bus driver's license, by the way. I can drive a bus, so I can haul a lot of these guys at the border, and get paid for it. That'd be cool. But there's going to be that part of it. Um, and then the other argument, which is pretty lame, is, well, if we get rid of all these people, who's going to pick the tomatoes? Fuck you, you lazy son of a bitch. Fucking you go pick the tomatoes.
Yeah.
Everybody's on welfare. You go pick the tomatoes, right?
Yeah.
There's jobs, there's works out there for you, but you choose to, there's 11,000, I think it was 11,000 or 11 million. I think it was 11 million. There's 11 million jobs sitting out there. They're technical jobs, like things like being, electricians, plumbers, and shit like that nobody wants because they all want the fucking, they want the job that, so they got a college degree certificate and think like, you know what, they're too good to flip a hamburger. They should be running McDonald's, even though they're completely unqualified. But there's a stupid sense of entitlement, and some people just don't see themselves picking tomatoes because that's above them. But actually living off of welfare is not, right. It's just craziness. And I would
Mhm.
say, you know what? The other thing I would argue is, besides removing all these assholes, let people on welfare, people that actually need a job, go pick the tomatoes. You know what? Humble yourself, pick a tomato. I've done shit like that. I've gone out and done
Absolutely.
construction, right? There's nothing wrong with it. If it's honest work, you do what you got to do to survive. The other thing I would do if I was Trump, this is what I would do. Is I go, listen, you get 90 days on welfare, 90 days, especially if my economy is good, like Trump's going to make it again. There's no reason why you can't get a job. Drive a bus, drive a cab, pick tomatoes, dump trash, dig a hole, whatever, make some fucking money. You come off of welfare, but if you're on welfare, all the welfare money you get, have to pay it back. At some point down the road, you got to pay it back. There's a limit to how long you can be on welfare, and then you've got to pay it back. You pay it back for the next guy that's on welfare, right? That's how I see it. Not letting these, we have fourth, fifth generation welfare recipients and families now. That's all they do is they live off of welfare, keep having kids, and keep making money, and they think they're entitled to that shit. It's like, and whose money they're spending? They're spending your money and my money. Okay, I would rather keep that money for myself, right? In fact, there's a lot of money I'd rather keep myself. That money is going to Planned Parenthood, it's going to Ukraine, it's going to Venezuela, to all these socialist countries. I'd rather keep that money and give it to my children and enrich their lives, make it better for them, right? I would rather put it back into my country, right, and improve our roadways, our infrastructure, and again make America even greater. Let's keep our money internally, But and maybe that'll all happen. I mean, I got grand plans, but I'm not the president. But if I were, that's what I would do for sure. I'm not sure I'd be hated, by a lot of people, but you know what? We all can't be liked. Look, as much as we all want to be loved by everybody, it's just never going to happen, man. Look at Donald Trump. Half the people like him, half the people hate him. Even me. I don't know how many people hate me, but I know I got haters out there for no other reason because they don't like my mustache. And and by the way, I just go ahead and comment on the mustache,
It's
because everybody's
awesome.
like, why does he always dye his mustache? I'll tell you why I dye my mustache, because I can, because I got one. And I dye it for the same reason. You shave your fucking face, you cut your goddamn hair, right? And you brush your fucking teeth and put on deodorant. All right, I do it for the same fucking reason. All right. Believe it or not, I have dudes that actually fucking comment about that. Like they're so disappointed that, I dye my mustache. It's like I broke their fucking hearts. It's like, dude, is this like a gay
It's
thing?
so
Because
gay. That's what
yeah,
it
it's like,
is. Just
yeah,
fuck
it's fucking
off.
weird, right? When guys comment shit like that, it's like, look, man, we're on a whole different level of intellect, and
Yeah, what
you
the
know,
fuck? Why are you doing
you
that,
know,
Dale? You're like, jeez.
it's crazy,
Yeah.
right? But
Like,
but again, if you understand the human condition as I do,
yeah.
it's just what it is. People are. It doesn't matter, man. You can't please everybody. Not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to agree with you. That's what makes us human, right? Okay, I'm good with that. But at the end of the day, I think we should all at least agree that there's some things that are immutable. Some things that we just don't compromise on. Like, for example, the safety of children, right? The welfare of children, the birth of children. Those things to me are non-negotiable. I think we should all be able to agree that taking care of our children, our future, should be priority number one. I think we should all agree that taking care of our country first is more important than taking care of everybody else's fucking country. I think we should all agree on that, but we don't. And so here we are. And but I think again, like I said a minute ago, thank God Trump won because I think it won't be perfect, it won't be utopia, but you know,
We have a
pretty damn
shot.
good.
We have a
Yeah.
shot that we survive in advance. But yeah, Dale, let's wrap this shit up. Um, yeah, everybody listening, please go in the description. Please go grab American Badass. The new book will be coming out hopefully by the end of the year. If not, it'll be early next year. And Dale will obviously be on a zillion more times. Go
Yeah,
in the
just
description.
while you're at it real quick, man, if you don't
Yeah,
mind me plugging something real
go
quick.
for it. Go for it.
Because that's something I don't talk much about. Well, one, yeah, my book is coming out. I'm actually writing several books. This one's taking me too damn long to write, but I'm just too busy. But it's going to come out hopefully before Christmas. It's called Running the Razor's Edge, and it's about my experience as a mercenary. And I've got four other books coming out behind that about different things I've been involved in. But one of the cool, exciting things is, and hopefully this I don't hopefully this doesn't karma doesn't bite me in the ass for saying this, but so I'm actually I have producers out there, and actually I'll be the producer as well now, but making a movie about me. So
Fuck
I'm
yeah.
hoping that everything, the script's being written now, the non-disclosure agreements have been signed, everything that we need to do legally is in play, and so hopefully, if all goes well within the next year, there will be a movie coming out about one of my many different exploits that I've done in my life. It's going to be a pretty good movie. It's very unique in that what you'll see played out in the screen has never been told before in cinema ever. There's no movie ever been made about this, but it's a real thing. And I wanted to comment on that because earlier we were talking about when you mentioned the cartels and things like that, and the enemy within. Actually, I'm working on another project. Have been working for about a year now, and there are literally enterprises, syndicates out there. I've been calling them enterprises. Call it a syndicate out there that literally are comprised of terrorists, Iranians, Chinese, cartel, and they're all working together as one group fucking feeding our country with fentanyl, trafficking humans, laundering money. They're just evil son of a bitches. And by the way, they're very big, and it's just one of many of these institutions out there. Um, so we live in a really rogue and feral world. Most people don't even realize that sitting on their couch watching TV, everything, going to work, and everything's great. But there's another dark side out here that I get to cross over every now and then, and it's kind of chilling to know what's out there, what's happening, and what people are trying to do to us. And it's not just due to me; it's just to Americans and to the West, like you said earlier, they want to kill us. They want to kill us. They don't want to enslave us. They just want us gone, and they
Mm,
want to control everything. And they're very patient. They're very deliberate, very methodical in their process. But they're actually pretty effective. And the first thing you got to do to win any type of a war is you've got to win the hearts and minds of people, right? So if you can get a whole lot of people on your side, you know, through propaganda, you've just multiplied the size of your fucking force exponentially. And suddenly, guys like us, we're like the minority going, fuck, we're outnumbered by these monkeys, and it's literally Planet of the Apes. We're in fucking trouble. But we just proved that maybe we're not too far gone yet with this last election. And maybe we do outnumber the apes, this time. But anyways, there's a lot of things coming out, movies coming out, working on that. More books are coming out. And and anybody that's interested is listening, it's a shameless plug, but I do a lot of um performance coaching. I train people to be their optimal versions of themselves. I have a If you want to learn more about it, go to my website, DaleComstock.com. And I'm always looking for more students. I usually keep about 12 to 15 clients on the books at any one time. But as guys drop off, I replace them with new candidates. But I have a reasonable program. Oh yeah, the other thing I want to point out to you also, Tommy, and everybody's listening out there. So I'm also involved in stem cell therapy. And if anybody is interested in stem cell therapy, the prices are through the roof, right? Super expensive. Through my organization, we can provide stem cells, 100 million stem cells, and 3 trillion exosomes for $7,000, all via telemedicine. You don't have to travel; it comes to you. We bring a doctor, nurse to your house. They give you the injection in less than 5 minutes, and suddenly you're going to get 10, 20 years of your life back. Any aches and pains and broken things you have, we're going to get fixed. I'm living proof of it. I was a freaking walking mess. Both my knees are restored. My back has been restored. My type stage 3B kidney failure disease has been reversed after 13 years. It's amazing shit, man. And so I wanted to point that out because um, on average, the treatment I received was $7,000 was what it cost the company to give that to me. And but comparing that to everybody else out there, it was over $70,000 worth of stem cell therapy for 7,000 bucks.
Jesus.
So everybody out there that's listening is, yeah, it's a sales pitch, but it's a good sales pitch in that I demanded this organization make it affordable for everybody. Therefore, it has to be less than $7,000, so everybody can afford it, whether you're rich or not. Whether you're Mel Gibson or Joe Rogan, it doesn't fucking matter. If you're Joe the plumber, we can make this fucking work. So hit me up on my website. You can email me through that. You can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, and if you're interested in either coaching or stem cell therapy, I'm your one-stop shop. So, oh yeah, and
Fuck
if
yeah.
need me to go get people for you, take care of their issues. I can do that too.
That also wink. Yeah, it's a no. The links to the Instagram and his website are also in the description, so you guys go check that. Yeah, no, I always tell people, and Dale also does consulting. Yeah,
There you go. That's advising and consulting, right?
yeah.
What I
Just
do.
just
Coaching, you know.
long range and short range consulting. Wink.
No,
Um,
listen, man, I've never heard anybody that didn't have it coming to them. That's
yeah,
not
no,
what I
fuck
do.
them. No, I'm not. I don't know qualms about it. Fuck them. I don't give a shit.
There's a lot
Fuck
of
them.
people out there that deserve a fucking hammer over their head, man. And I'm willing to fucking bring a whole toolbox.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Listen, there are no kids. There are no kids having Dale come after them. If you're at a point in your life where Dale's coming after you, you have
fucked
gone
up.
through. You've used far more than 3 strikes. You have royally fucked up to get to that point, and that's on you, and that's between you and God. Um, but with that, Dale, let's wrap this shit up. Thank you for your
All right,
time as always, man. I love talking to you. Yeah, keep me updated on the book, and we'll do episodes on those. And as always, my platform is yours to use, and I love having you on here. And the original American badass, Dale Comstock. Thank you, sir.
thank you. Appreciate it, brother.
All right, bro. Happy Thanksgiving. Everybody watching, happy Thanksgiving. Love you.
All right.